Welcome to the App Advisory Show, your fortnightly dose of all things cloud accounting, apps, and app advisory.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the App Advisory Show. I've got a good friend on of mine today. Hello, Mat Wray from simPRO.
Hi Matt, thanks for inviting me.
No worries. I don't always call you the full name of Mat Wray. I do call you Matt most of the time, but for people who don't know you, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing with simPRO?
Yeah, thanks Matt. So I am Matt as well. So I'm the global head of finance for simPRO. So my role in the business is engaging with and finding new accountancy and consultancy partners who want to educate their clients about job management and trades and constructs globally. So not only just in the UK, markets in Australia and New Zealand and the States.
So we met I think it was at least 5 years ago, probably maybe 6 years ago. Seven, really? Wow. And I got to know a little bit about simPRO very early doors when you came onto the scene, and obviously that is the business now is entirely different, right, to what it was back when we first met. But in terms of like simPRO as a sort of summary of the product, what does it do and who does it work for?
So the best way to position simPRO is it's a very comprehensive off-the-shelf job management platform. We are laser focused on essentially the dirty end of the market, right? We are guys in vans installing things and going back and servicing things. You think of project, service and maintenance, which at the moment, those industries are booming. They're massive in terms of, you think of project work and servicing assets in buildings. It has to continue no matter what. So we were started by an electrician from the UK 20 years ago, 20 years ago. So it's been built, by a contractor for contracting businesses. So very, very industry specific. Think of electrical contracting, plumbing and heating, fire and security, home automation. They're essentially doing the same thing, but simPRO is a job costing animal. It's allowing a system to be in that business so they can scale, they can grow, and it integrates into Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, and NetSuite. So as a platform, or as mothership, as I call it, it's a very clever piece of kit, but you're right, in 7 years, that sounds weird, doesn't it? 7 years. So 7 years ago, I was employee 3 in the UK, maybe 3 or 4. We're about 160 now in the UK. It's grown massively because of those verticals. So very industry specific, but there was very little around back then. So business, not only globally, we're about 600 staff globally now. It's gone from a very little thing, literally a tiny Regis office in Camborne, to big place now in St Ives in Cambridgeshire, and everyone's remote and working. So yeah, big change, but a good testament to the product, testament to the people, actually.
Yeah, interestingly, for just one thing I want to pick up there, like the industries you work with, and you've mentioned like some of the standard legacy type of industries you've had for years, like professional services and the type of like dirty end of the market, as you say. But you said something there that made me laugh. Home automation, like we weren't saying that 6 years ago as a world you were looking to get into, was it? That's a new industry which has appeared, totally. Right?
But if you think about home automation, right? We've last 2 years. Down to really the support of another partner of ours, Rich Heppel, Art of Smart, who has a training academy for home automation businesses. Those businesses are essentially electricians, right? They're electrical contractors that are in really cool industry. So people now change. Some of this technology is just incredible, of cinema rooms and home automation, of moods and everything, centrally managed by iPads. Essentially, they're installing things. It's a project, and they're putting it and they're servicing stuff as well. So an up and coming industry, definitely in the UK. We've got a great following now of home automation businesses, but that's where it's going into. I think with COVID, a lot of people spent a lot of time in their houses, so they wanted to do their house up. So a lot of those businesses are actually kind of improving what they've got, and they're so busy, these places. But normally, if they haven't got a system to run it, it's chaos and spreadsheets and whiteboards, etc., etc., etc. So they need a foundation, really. So I think the fact that home automation contractors, they're typically quite young, they're just starting out, they're entrepreneurial, they want to do well. So they recognize we do this smart this time, right? Instead of chaos and spreadsheets, we put a system in.
But in terms of those businesses, I mean, like you are right, the home automation world is like probably a podcast in itself, because that world has exploded over the last 3 years of what you can be achieved there. But like in terms of like those sectors, those types of businesses that deliver those services, is there like a size which works better? Do you come in, are you like all encompassing, like from the chap who's just got a van on his own up to the multi-million pound? Like what's your sweet spot if you're working with businesses?
Great question. It's one of the things we position daily to accountancy practices about what's a good simPRO client. You know, what does one look like? So we play, so I'll take two parts of that. So I'll take the first part. So we play really well with the ecosystem. We know the guys at Tradify, we know the guys at ServiceMate. So we actually refer smaller entities to those guys. Your man in your van is smaller thing, that simPRO, they're just not ready for simPRO yet, only because simPRO is just comprehensive. So I typically position it, think of those entities, those add-ons, they kind of live down here really well. We kind of live up here because it's an end-to-end product. So typically, especially in the UK market, for example, our largest client is a £100+ million turnover business, and our smallest one is a mum, dad, son in van business. So typically we're SME, but core is SME because they recognize they need a foundation, they need a system, they're probably drowning in work. They normally go to their advisor, their accountant or their business coach and go, what do you think? Now, normally if they're engaged with someone like us, and if it fits that bill of that industry, it's straight to us and then we look after them. So, but we will always review it. And I think for simPRO, because and it's probably an Australian thing, this, right? We're very honest, we're very blunt. We on a rolling SaaS model, we want our clients for 10, 20 years, right? We've got to be upfront about the pain they go through. And, you and I have had this experience and your crew as well at Blue Hub about setting expectation about the pain they're going to go through to put a system in, that scoping, it fits, it's got to fit. So I think we're very diligent in that, and that's only because of the size of businesses, the typically entrepreneurial business owner that wants to scale his business. So we're not really unpicking anything. It's more about he's done it a certain way for years.
Yeah, I think that point about what you say, where you are joined with some of the other solutions, which will help some of those smaller businesses, because of course they may grow into needing something like simPRO. So you're sort of creating that longer-term partnership. That's great. But I think from a personal perspective, I think one of the things that we really enjoyed about working with you guys at simPRO, certainly in the referral world when we were passing things across, was the fact that I think some of the early ones you did say aren't right for you. And I think we got quite a lot of value out of that. Like they're not. I think when you're a SaaS business and you come into this world, it's very much land grab, and you go through this, get the numbers on, and we'll worry about the churn later. And to be fair, I think to you personally and simPRO, there was very much this world of actually they need to be right. Obviously, you kiss a few frogs and while you're still learning your trade and getting where you're at, but essentially you get to that point and go, it's got to be right for us. It's got to be long term. And I think like we made the mistake of probably chucking some core construction businesses across the union. Like, it could work, but it's probably going to be a rough ride. So why do we want to put ourselves through it?
Because we've learned, right? It's a good point. We've learned our lessons. We can't just go around saying yes. Yes. Normally they're the ones that will come and bite you in the end. But you're right, we want to make sure that it's a partnership. I know a lot of people, it's a cliche and everyone throws that around. We are a software partner, right? And I've been in very heated debates and arguments with our end clients about a long-term thing. We want to make it right for them. We work very hard every 30 days to make sure they stay with us and pay us, so that kind of partnership, it has to be right in terms of getting it. But I think for us, it's more about educating, especially potential partners, about where we fit. And I get, if you just take Xero's ecosystem, it's massive, it's just huge, but there's only probably about 5 people do that what we do. Again, it comes back to Charlie at Tradify and the Darren at ServiceMate and those crews. So we have that nice relationship because we'd like to advise people who are coming to us to say, well, you're not ready for simPRO yet, go and look at that other product till you grow, and then when you are ready, then come back. It's a bit more advisory, but it's a diligent, we're honest, right? We're good guys. We want to make sure as well, as you know, and as I know, referrals, right? You can't mess it up. You've got to you've got to be upfront. You've got to look after them differently, because if that potential partner has handed you their child as this is a client, Matt, we want to make sure that we do a really good job, and our partner team we approach it slightly differently. I mean, simPRO is a new business animal. We've got a great sales team. They're very much point and shoot. They're the guys that go out there and do that work and do a great job at selling simPRO. The partner team are a little bit different, because we're working with the partner, because we sell with our partner essentially, not sell for, and we want them to be involved, because normally after the first implementation and sale of simPRO, that's when the next one comes, and then the next one and the next one. So the first one's always the most important one, I think, because we want to build that trust thing before they start handing them over, and we do a good job.
Yeah. To pick on something you said there about you work hard every 30 days. I presume you work hard between like days 1 and 30. It's not just 29 and 30 you work really hard. But my point was, what you're saying there is you don't tie anybody in to like long contracts, right? As an implementation project, get that on an onboarding project. But at that point, you're hoping the solution, the service you deliver will keep people enticed on their 30-day rolling. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, secret is, it's a puppy dog smell, right? Once it's in, it doesn't come out, because we do a lot of work up front to make sure it's right. And that training element, we've got a fantastic team of implementation consultants. It's about 50 or 60 of them now just in the UK. And they're on site, eating biscuits, drinking tea, rolling it out in businesses every day. But that SaaS model, that subscription piece, that's still one of our hooks. It's still that flexibility to breathe with licenses, because it's a concurrent thing. So you can imagine before COVID, touch wood, we didn't lose any clients. We were fortunate that the majority of our clients that either furloughed engineers just dialed their licenses down, had a core number of licenses. We had a very nice online toolbox, which is an LMS training, a bit like simPRO University. They log into that and they can be trained, and then they dial their licenses back up again. So there's a huge amount of kind of innovation of making sure that they're in the software, but it all boils down to, it's a 30-day direct debit. It's not tying you in for 6 years and then you're working hard on it. So it keeps us on our toes, but I like that. I like the fact that it's that flexibility to be able to scale and grow with us, as opposed to locking them in and then recognizing it's not the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, just to give context, maybe you've not looked at simPRO, seen it. It is a meaty product. There's a lot to it. It's got a lot of facets to it, and it really can grow with the business. So, I think that I would say most comparative size of tools are probably not on 30-day rolling. I'd imagine they're on 12-month type.
No, they're bigger. Yeah, and I class simPRO as humbly, we're a tier 2 provider, right? You think you tier 1s, SAP, IFS. We know where we're successful, so we sit really nicely there because it is comprehensive. There's a lot in it. It's about 8 systems in one platform. It's an end-to-end thing, from sales CRM, job costing and estimating, job management and costing, so scheduling, field apps as well for engineers, for timesheets, etc. Stock control as well, not to the level of Sin7 and
Deer and all that stuff, Unleashed, you
specialize in, but it's a very comprehensive piece, and invoicing, and then we just integrate into that accounting piece. So you imagine that end-to-end piece in the world we live in. That's everywhere, right? It's in spreadsheets, it's in a bit of Sage, a bit of someone's head on a whiteboard. All we're doing is centralizing it. And if you've ever read the book, The E-Myth Contractor, it's one of my Bibles. It's a great book about chaos in the contracting world and how to systemize a business to grow. And I've been in those meetings in the early days of selling simPRO of, Matt, the last holiday I had was 4 years ago, said the MD. Well, I've got a book for you. You need to read that about putting something in so you can grow and scale and your boys can run this business. And they're great at those. And I was only speaking to Simon, the head of direct sales, yesterday about when we go back to see these accounts that we put simPRO in, about you hear true stories, about how they've saved money, or they're downsizing offices because they don't need to because they're working from home. Savings, and it kind of hits home then that you think, now I know why.
I think all of these tools in all the different sectors and areas of it can be life-changing when they're implemented correctly, and the people who've got the right mindset. What are the things about the size, and you mentioned some of those modules, those 8 areas there. This is sort of a general question, but do you feel you'll tailor what the client gets, right? What the customer gets in terms of what their needs are. So when you're talking about the scoping, not everybody will need all 8, certainly not on day one. You'll go, these are the 3 core modules you're going to need. We're going to take you through that process. And of course, you can have the other 5 over the next 1, 2, 3, 10 years, but it's completely up to you at that point.
It's actually quicker than that, Matt. They actually recognize, because it's a unified workflow. So you think of an inquiry coming into a business, that's a lead. Who's going to touch that lead? There's probably someone in the office or a manager. You convert the lead to a quote. So then the quoting module then kicks in and you quote for it. You get the thumbs up, it becomes the job. So that kind of mechanism of conversion typically wants to do the whole thing. Now, you're right, we do have some businesses that want to just start with service elements of work first and bring projects in later. But the features are all in there. And that's the thing, the beauty of having an off-the-shelf product is they live there waiting for when people want it, as opposed to overload to start with. And that's why our rolling and implementation it's a stage rollout. It's a bit like you guys do. We adopt a train-the-trainer approach. We train the champions, but it's an implementation milestone. So it's typically over about 5 or 6 weeks that we would be training and implementing simPRO in a business. And that's where all those kind of nuances come out, and that kind of buyer's remorse, and and it's our job to make sure they stay on track, because we have fairly proactive KPIs to get the client live. We work towards a deployment or a go live date, and there's a lot of work that goes into that, because we appreciate that business, they're busy, right? They're doing their day-to-day stuff, and we're putting this brand new system in at the same time. Testament to the guys out and about implementing simPRO, because they've got a tough job, because normally they're up against the inertia, right? They've done it like that for 10 years, and they have to try and unpick that to get them into our workflow. But it's a good process, but it's recognizing those businesses that need that help. They recognize they need a foundation. They're like, instead of then employing another 10 people in the office and 20 more trucks, they want a system in first before they can scale it out. And that's our story, and a good story too.
It must be quite a process for you guys. So you start with somebody, they go like maybe 3 modules, 4 modules start with. There must be, and this is something we're talking to like accounting firms about at the moment, about we call the optimization. So going back and review and say, right, in 2018, when you had this system, you look like this. This is your workflows. Now we're in 2022. You're doing all this other stuff, and there's some, obviously these systems grow in that 4-year period as well. You've got more features, maybe more different modules, certainly advancements. So then going back and reassessing how they're using simPRO against their new processes or new services, that's always ongoing, I imagine, for you guys.
Yeah, and that's a challenge, right? Because
definitely
we're fortunate. We're dev heavy. We have 150 plus developers in Brisbane. We have 4 major releases a year and a rapid release cycle of every 3 weeks. So you buckle up, right? You've got to keep up with that kind of feature release. And a lot of our clients, again, because they're busy doing their thing, they don't recognize they've got all this feature set that keeps coming out, because they're not going to read it all the time, another feature set. So it's our job to make sure, they're in it, working on it, but our account management team are great to be able to make sure that the people are using it as they should. But it's like any business that will get into a rut of using a system all the time. They have to have reviews. They have to have someone go back in and go, hold on a minute, why are you doing it like this? You should be doing it like this. And that's just because of the feature set that comes on. But most businesses don't outgrow it. You never do, because that feature set is constantly being developed. And it's not by us as well. It's we have a really nice global ideas forum in simPRO in the software. So all our clients have the ability to vote for new features. They come up with the ideas, which is great. So all our clients can vote for it, and the top ones, we write it, put it in our roadmap, and release it free of charge.
I think that's definitely the SaaS challenge at the moment. If you're growing a product, improving a product, making sure that someone doesn't stagnate at the point they had it implemented, I think that is, I don't think anyone's mastered it yet, but it's certainly how you make the most of it, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think, again, it's coming back to, it's with conviction, into like any system. You've got to put it in the business with conviction, and you've got to really get the buy-in from the rest of the teams. And that's all that pre-sales stuff. simPRO just isn't a flick of a switch and it's sets a light on a desktop. We do a lot of scoping and demonstrating, not only my partner team but the direct sales teams, again, to make sure that they're ready for the change. It's more about the resource. If they're ready, are they ready for this thing? Because simPRO, it is compelling when you look at simPRO. It's a great piece of kit. It is comprehensive because it has to be. But normally businesses will look at how they currently work and then look at the difference and go, oh, we need that. But then it's our job to make sure, this is going to take a bit of time. Are you ready for it yet?
Yeah. One other thing I'd just like your opinion on, we've discussed this a lot with some of the accounting firms, is sometimes we ask once about a new system, and it might be the right system and it's the wrong time. And I think that's a key thing, that you'll have had this, and we've certainly had this, where we might have spoken on and off to a business 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then all of a sudden it's the right time. And I think this is understanding that, it's not a one discussion, this is the product we're on. This takes time for them to understand what the project even is. A bit like you said about internally resourcing, these moves, they need as much resource on their side as the vendors on actually delivering the products as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great point. I've had it, with Blue Hub, and I've had it with accountancy practices we would never ram simPRO down someone's throat. I love the phrase, the art of the possible. Right? I like showing what life could look like with simPRO. And if it's right for them, that's great. If not, not. And only recently we've had one way back from one of the Blue Hub days, where it was about 2.5 years that we showed the software to the business, but they just weren't in a position to do something yet. Yeah. And now they're ready. And I think by, showing it like that and showing them, being cool with it and, showing it's nice to be nice, we don't ram it down their throat. They come back naturally to a piece of software which is memorable. So, and that's good. We want that. We want our clients for a long time. We've got some great clients that have stuck with us, and some great success stories as well, which give you that nice warm feeling that you've done a good job, because they are taking those holidays and they are scaling their business.
Okay, so just to pick out a couple of features or modules you've mentioned, which you're pretty excited about or pretty proud of in terms of, or what's made bigger differences from your perspective, because you'll have overseen a lot of clients moving to the product. What sort of, if there's a couple of features you'd really like to talk about, what would it be?
So I guess the biggest one is the kind of field to office mobility, that communication between the field and office, which normally, again, before simPRO, is big whiteboards, WhatsApp, bits of carbon copy with jam and Costa coffee all over it, handing in, to some poor person doing timesheets. That is the quickest win for us. So as soon as you do away with that manually handling paper in the field, there's an efficiency straight away. There's that. We don't have to do that because it's automated. So real-time communication is a big thing. And really for us, if you boil simPRO down, and there's lots of bells and whistles in it, it's a job costing animal, right? This thing is all about project management, job costing. And that's the biggest request we get from potential partners, and in the accountancy world definitely, is, Matt, we have a client that can't handle job costing. That's every single day. And we then show them the job costing piece about tracking real-time costs on projects, very big ones and small ones. Normally, before simPRO, it's finger, mouth to air. Oh, we didn't make as much. Well, that's just crazy. And obviously, the end client is speaking to accountants to say, how can I get a better handle on that? So I think the paperwork, paperless thing, the job management, and I think the final piece is the compliance. So think of our verticals. They're heavily compliant, like ISO, and without a business management system, they're not. So they need a system to influence their workflow. And a client said to me a few years ago, putting simPRO in the business was like throwing a hand grenade off in the middle of it, which I thought was just a great analogy, because the ripple effect changed everything of how they work, because they had to be compliant. So instead of that auditor coming in with big lever arch files and going through, they were literally sat in front of the software, either remotely or coming in to go full audit.
Yeah.
Well, as a story, it's a good story. We're definitely the market leader. We're definitely, in terms of size and our feature set and our client base, we're just looking for more. Like any business, without sales, nothing happens. So, and that's one of the main reasons we're pushing heavily globally. The channel team, the indirect sales team, looking for, entrepreneurial kind of proactive advisory firms. We love those that maybe want an industry specific specialism. We really love those. Taking like you do about core add-ons, and I actually use your approach, Matt, pretty much every day when I'm doing the kind of simPRO tap downs to partners, is about choose your core add-ons, right? There's thousands of them, but choose the good ones that you really want to align with to differentiate yourself in the market. I think that's the difference. Is kind of doing the books is dead, now. I think it's all about systems, it's about advisory, and it's kind of making sure that those accountancy firms are up with that so they know where we fit. And again, we don't want accountancy firms bringing us opportunities that don't fit all the time, because we want them to say to their end clients, we've seen a piece of software, it's been written for your industry, do you want to see it?
Yeah,
well, yes, of course it.
Absolutely. Yeah, fully agree. And just to touch on the type of, obviously we've got accountants and bookkeepers listening to this. You did mention earlier, but just to be really clear, that the accounting softwares you link in with was pretty broad, which shows probably the size of businesses. You mentioned NetSuite. What else are you connecting in with?
Yeah, so we've got native integrations with the top 4. It's kind of 5 if you include MYOB in Australia. So Xero, we love the guys at Xero globally. We're part of their ecosystem. We'll be exhibiting at XeroCon in the UK, which I'm really looking forward to this year again. So we're the 7th year, which is always good fun, as you know. We always have a nice time at XeroCon, Matt.
We do.
We do. QuickBooks as well. We integrate into Intuit QuickBooks Online and desktop. Sage too, so Sage 50, Sage 200, and we are midway, if not the final testing stages for the Sage Business Accounting product as well, which is the cloud piece. NetSuite is a fairly new one for us, influenced primarily by our US business and some of the businesses over there. But as a range of products, that's pretty much, we're agnostic, right? We'll sit in the middle and go, integrate into any. But depending on what they want, typically they're wanting to migrate off premise and onto cloud. So those two-way synchronizations with the cloud products are just dead easy. So as an add-on, it works really well. And plus the fact there's the opportunity for the accountant then to get involved about the integration into Xero, QuickBooks or Sage and us as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think I've covered that. So you've mentioned this channel of accounting and bookkeeping professionals that you're working with, and you've mentioned you're looking for more. Like, how do you work with these partners? It's a bit like, so people who are interested in, really starting to work with you guys proactively. Like, how do they get involved? What happens there?
So potential partners come to us that maybe want to be educated a bit more on the landscape of the apps that we have, or if they're looking at trades and construction. And to be clear, simPRO isn't true construction, and that's one of the main things we kind of educate accountants with is we're not building buildings. We're putting infrastructure in and servicing that. So we want to make sure that if potential partners are wanting to find out about us or potentially want to add simPRO as a job management app to their app stack, then we have a simPRO accountancy orientation whereby we present the product, we find out a little bit about their services, because really, we want it to be reciprocal. I'm always a great believer of trying to pass business back up the chain. So if we are in front of, contracting businesses that need help with Xero or QuickBooks from a specific region, we want to pass that to an accountancy partner. So very much reciprocal. We can do go-to-market and joint stuff, but we want to kind of educate them of who simPRO are and our clients. We then identify in their client base, if they've segmented clients, who have you got? If you want to do some sort of joint systems presentation, or, again, it's nice content to give them as opposed to just doing the books, then we do that. And we just go fishing in our client base to see if there's anyone that wants to bite. If they do, fantastic. Normally they do, but if not, not. Again, I think it's more about the educational piece, that they then know what simPRO does. They then know where it fits. So if a contracting firm then does come across their books again, they can then introduce us to the end client. So we do sell simPRO, we do implement simPRO, we train simPRO, we do the lot. So it's very much having the partner with us through that journey of implementing it. But as we build trust with some of these partners, as you know, you just introduce us straight away and we'll do a good job. We'll just make sure that what's after.
Right. And if anybody was interested, say you pique their interest and they want to get in touch about how to, explore this partnership, what's the best way of getting in touch with you or simPRO?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. My team are on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is still a great tool for us. We're inbound daily about, Matt, we've got a client, they're in a hole, they need some help. Absolutely. On our website as well, simpro.co.uk or simprogroup.co.uk is where you can find the partner piece, and then they come through to us as well. But yeah, we're all about, we wanted to find more. We've got key strategic relationships around the UK and Ireland, but we're just looking for more. I think we're just scratching the surface at the moment about trades and constructs. And you think about those industries, they're they're massive at the moment. So our addressable market is huge. We just want more.
Yeah, I think as well, probably, I'd imagine you've seen this, we've definitely seen this, there's much more an SME awareness, like through this pandemic, that there's some different ways to work, and technology is an enabler. And I think maybe that awareness wasn't there pre-pandemic, and we've certainly a lot more educated potential clients talking to us about what they could do, whereas beforehand we had to take a lot to them. So I know you found that.
Yeah, the online piece was, I mean, in the first round of pandemics, I mean, simPRO, they had, 2 record sales quarters. We didn't know what to expect going into that.
No, you're right.
We onboarded our largest UK client in that period as well, all online. And you're right, most businesses were coming to us either through partners and business consultants and coaches saying, I don't want to have to drive 2 hours to my office and work on spreadsheets. And, we want a cloud piece of software, and this is the time to do it. So you think this world now of online, everyone's more relaxed now online. Whereas before it was, Matt, could you come and drive 5 hours and come and see it? Well, yes, we can, but why don't we jump online first and make sure it's right? So for us, we adapted very quickly, because we're a technology business. So we should. We're global, albeit with a small g, a global technology business. So we're constantly online. And that's the art. I think if you can scope and present a product and engage with people online, face-to-face is not easy. So, but yeah, it's been busy for us, continue to be busy. We're onboarding about 40 to 50 businesses a month at the moment in the UK. And we've got some big plans as well. So back end of last year, we had a significant Series B fund investment, which has allowed us to scale again and into key markets in America and Toronto, potentially into Europe later this year as well. So watch this space. It's good, but again, all from a Sparky from Blackpool, and 7 years ago, 3 people in a Regis office in Camborne.
Yeah, amazing. We'll put some of those links on the show notes as well, so people can get hooked in if they want to go there. You're at XeroCon. You doing anything else? Any other?
Yeah. So we are at Accountex. We're doing Accountex again. That's always interesting. We're doing Dan Cockton's cool thing. The
digital accounting show.
That was great last year. That was a testament to Dan and his team. So thanks for inviting us back to that. So that'd be good. And XeroCon as well. And any others that we're kind of on the radar of. I know Sage are doing something in the States, but nothing in the UK this year. And I'm not sure what QuickBooks are up to. But we're on the circuit. So obviously, whenever we do anything, we tend to want to come along and meet people. And that's been interesting seeing. That's where most people find out about these new technologies. It's still old school. It's still quite events based.
Yeah, it is.
Understand. It's harder this way to do that. So looking forward to getting back out on the road and meeting some people again. Yeah,
should be good. I'll see you all of those. Right, Matt, we'll wrap it up at that point. It's been great speaking. Thanks a lot for your time, and I'm sure you'll have some inquiries, and no doubt I'll see you at XeroCon or Accountex. Actually, probably we'll be crossing paths. But thanks a lot for your time today, Matt.
Thanks for the invite. Cheers, Matt.
And for everybody else listening, make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and if you really like it, give us a little review. That'd be great. We've got a few more of these solution-based, app-based type of conversations coming along soon. So cheers all, and thanks for listening. Cheers again, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.